Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Foreman Community Demo number 166. We have a packed agenda today, which is always great to see. If you have any questions during the demo, feel free to ask them on our Matrix channel. I will do my best to monitor the channel, but if anyone else sees a question there, please don't hesitate to raise your hand and speak up. And our agenda, I'm not even going to read all the topics. I will probably mispronounce things. So I'll just give a shout out to Jan, Lucy, Nakul, Shubham, Archana, Quinn, Pavan, and Shimon, who all joined us today to present. And we've got quite a few community demos about containerization. So that's also great to see. The process of containerizing Foreman is well underway now, so it's certainly a good thing that so many contributors are willing to step up and showcase their work so that the whole community can follow the progress. We do want the community's feedback on the project, and we want the community to start using it. So this is actually a good segue to the first demo. This was prepared by Jan, but because he couldn't make it, I'll be the one doing the talking. So let me switch to present something else. And that will be our documentation homepage, because the first demo is about the fact that Foreman now has a proper installation guide for containerized deployments. If you go to the documentation homepage, that's docs.theforeman.org, you will be able to click through to the 3.19 version, which is the release candidate. And there at the bottom, you will see a documentation category for containerized documentation. And the shiny new thing is our new installation guide. So let me just show that. This is part of the team's efforts to deliver the docs for the containerized build. And installation is certainly a good first place to start. If you've checked some of the containerized documentation guides we published before, note that the URLs has changed. We have replaced the old foreman-ctl bit in the URL with containerized, because containerization is bigger than just foreman-ctl. And we're still in the process of working out the details of some of the other guides, but we will be adding them in. The guides that are not ready for consumption, even though they are sometimes accessible on the website, they will also soon be showing a helpful intro section that's saying guide not ready. So if you see a containerized guide that says guide not ready at the beginning, please note that that one is not ready, not yet reviewed, but the installation one is. So you can read all about how to plan your containerized installation, how to run some prep steps, and then, of course, follow the whole deployment process itself. There are some cool new features in the containerized build. For example, the command foreman-ctl features will let you inspect the features available for deployment. But as always, don't take my word for it. Go see the documentation for yourself and tell us what you think. And I think that would be it for this part of the demo. So I'll switch to the slides. And in the meantime, I'll ask if there are any questions about this. Probably not. So let's go to the second topic, which is Lucy.
Thank you, Anita. Share my screen here. Hi. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to walk through the Hostgroup ContentFacet refactor. This is about bringing host groups in line with how hosts and activation keys already handle content view environments. A bit of context first. Over the past few years, Catena has been moving toward using content view environments as the single source of truth for content assignments. It started back in 2022 with multi-CV support for host registration, and has been steadily expanding. Host details, activation keys, the API, and last December, multi-CV was enabled by default. Host groups was the last piece that still used the old pattern. So what was the problem? Host groups stored content view and lifecycle environment as two separate fields. So you could set any content view with any lifecycle environment, even if that combination didn't actually exist. There was no referential integrity. This also meant that when you delete a content view, there was no way to check if any host groups were using it, and it was just inconsistent with how the rest of Container works. The fix has two parts. First, host groups now use a single reference to content view environment, so you can only assign valid published combinations. Second, existing data is automatically migrated during upgrades with full error reporting, so the users would know how exactly what happened. For the migration, most host groups will migrate automatically if they have a valid CV and environment pair. If a host group only has one of the two sets, the migration will try to inherit the missing value from a parent host group or fall back to the organization default. If there's an invalid combination that cannot be resolved, it gets locked and saved into a CSV file so the users can fix it manually. The migration is also fully reversible. One of the bigger user-facing improvements before this change, delete the content view only checked for affected hosts. Host groups were completely ignored, which could silently break them. Now the CV deletion wizard shows affected host groups and includes a new reassignment step. You pick a replacement content view environment before the deletion goes through. This works for both single version removal and the bug delete. In the UI, when you create or edit a host group, you now see a single content view environment dropdown instead of two separate ones. You can only pick valid combinations, so there's no risk of any invalid assignments. And on the CV deletion side, there's now a reassign host group step in the wizard that prevents orphan host groups. For API users, there's a new endpoint to list host groups associated with a specific content view environment. And then the CV removal endpoint now accepts host group reassignments. So you can reassign affected host groups to a new content view environment in the same API calls as the deletion. There's one more thing and what's to be clarified. Content view environment inherits from parent host groups, just like content source does. But activation keys are selected per host group. There's no inheritance. What you pick is what you get. The content view environment controls kickstart provisioning on the kickstart repository during the host provisioning. And the activation keys of a host registration, they serve different purposes. So after all this talking, let's take a look at the UI. Let's go to host groups. And let's create a new one. So here on this page, you will notice, so you can select the content source, and then the content view environment will be populated. So you can select the CV environment you want. Maybe let's say 10 here. The other tabs just behave the same as before. If you go to activation keys, here you can pick the activation key you want to use for the host connection, for the host registration. That will be saved. And let's take a look at the content view definition. So let's say pick this one. You want to delete this content view version. You say delete. Notice there's a step here for affected host groups. So let's go through that. So let's say change to a different default. Next one. So here we show you the affected hosts, and you can reassign a new environment and content view for that host groups. Then get the review here, and then you can submit your task. That's what I have for today.
Thank you, Lucy. Do we have any questions? Doesn't look like it, so let's go to the next topic, which is Nakul. Please, Nakul.
Yes. Hello, everyone. So I will be demonstrating simplifying CLI parameters in foreman-initial from foreman-initial to initial. I would like to share my screen. Please let me know if it is visible.
Yes, we can see. Thank you.
So earlier we were using foreman initial organization, foreman initial location, foreman initial admin username, and foreman initial admin password. So basically we were using the foreman at the start, but in the current version we are dropping the foreman because it was artifact which now we do not want to expose. So we are going with initial organization, initial location, initial admin username, and initial admin password. Right. So this is how we are going to do it. We are going to run foreman-initial deploy with initial admin username and providing its value. Yes. We would start with initial admin username, providing an initial value, an initial admin password, along with the initial location and organization which we intend to provide. Uh, Once we provide it, we will run all the playbook which are required for foreman-initial deploy. Once it is done, we would get that it has been successful, and and uh, and we would also get a new UI screen. Now the username and the password which we have provided, I would like to add it as I have already added. I would like to log in, and we can see yes, we are able to see that we have got internet as our organization and foreman as our location, which we have intended. Earlier, we used to get default organization, default location, and a user needed to manually use his organization and location. That's why we have also dropped it, and we have made it this way. I have also two PR for it. This is the this is the second PR, and I already have in the community demo. I have linked both of the PRs, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nakul. It doesn't look like there are any questions, but I'll still wait for a few more moments. If anyone wants to ask, now is a good time. And no, there aren't any. So thank you, and let's move to next topic, which is Shubham.
Right. Now let me present screen. Okay, hope it's visible. Okay, hello everyone. I am Shubham, and I'm going to talk about the Hammer CLI foreman admin plugin, which is now dropped from the foreman, and we are no longer going to use Hammer admin command for managing the logging, which we used to do. The reason behind it is because it didn't really fit in the architecture of the foreman, because Hammer is a remote client, and the CLI admin plugin did local actions on the foreman host or the smart proxies, and it also conflicted with the foreman installer way which we can use to manage the logging, and it also used to already owns those files. So there are two tools managing one set of functionality, which I don't think it's desired. So this has been now removed on upgrade. If any system has that, it would automatically be removed on the upgrades, also adding the obsolete so that you don't need to uninstall or you don't run into future issues with the packages. The test references as well as the documentation is also been updated with that, that we don't no longer used to have to use the Hammer admin command. Instead, we can use the satellite installer's own functionality of handling the logging, which is the satellite installer foreman logging level, which you can set it and then also reset it. So there's also going to be another log handling that would be in the foreman-CTL. So definitely it would be showed in the upcoming presentations, but for now it's been dropped, and the only way alternative approach is to use the foreman installer's own logging approach. And yeah, that's all I have.
Thank you, Shubham. Do we have any questions? No questions. So let's go to the next topic. And that's one by Archana. Archana, please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, let me share my screen. I hope it's possible.
Yes,
Yeah,
we can see your
okay.
screen. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So I was working on this migration subcommand for foreman-ctl, and this is the PR. You see, like it's already merged, and this is the part of work we have been doing in the containerization effort. That is like upgrading all the existing deployments we have in the older installer to the containerized deployment. And this PR is just about adding the initial layer of the work on that. And with this, our focus was to like create initial migration subcommand with like that can have the basic structure that can read and pass the answer file we have from the foreman installer and automate converting them to like in the foreman installer answer file we have right now to the containerized format as per the foreman-ctl. So this basically solves like uh, a very critical upgrade pain point that user can have when upgrading from the existing deployment to the containerized deployment. And this solve it. So let me share my terminal as well. I can go with that. Okay, so I have the commands already run here. So when you go with the foreman-ctl, now it shows that we have the migrate subcommand along with the health and pull images, which is going to perform all the tasks about the migration. So, and when you go with the foreman-ctl command with the migrate, and this is the all the options we have available right now to perform the migration that we need. And to perform the migration, this is just a demo file I have right now to show. Like when you go foreman-ctl migrate and then answer file option with the file that you have in the like the foreman installer already, and you put the output option and where you want the migrated file to be written, and you add the path here, and it's gonna do the task for us, and it's gonna show the output like this, that migration completed successfully, and number of parameters that is mapped, and if there is a parameter that is not mapped, so it's going to show us here. And the output where it is written, it's going to show. So this is how the migration is going to happen. And now there is, okay. Yeah, there's one more thing. If what I have, how it works basically is like, I have built the Ansible, like the custom Ansible module with like a smart parameter mapping logic happening here. This is like the core mapping table. You see, this has a number of parameters I have added. That's not a fully all the parameters, but you see, like we have a DB host that is straightforward doing the mapping. But when you look at the DB manage, this isn't like the renaming thing is happening, but we are doing the type conversion here as the like in the old installer that uses Boolean. So we are doing it and converting into the string, and that could be internal, external, and the code is handling here as well. And like I could say the best thing about this approach is not just renaming the keys, sorry, and like transforming the data that we have here to match the new foreman-ctl format as it's needed for the migration. And like there is more mapping is happening as well, like server assistant cert to server certificate. That's like the basic straightforward mapping happening here. That's still not completed, but this is where we are right now. And then also like when you do the mapping here, you see like it says parameters are unmappable. It's going to show the number of parameters that is unmappable. But um, there is one more thing I want to show. Yeah, so there could be cases when parameters cannot be automatically mapped, and users going to get a clear warning about what needs manual review when the mapping is not done. And it's not going to show the migration failed, but it did successfully, and the migration did complete it. But it's going to alert the user that review those specific parameters that is not mapped completely. And this is how it works right now. And then I have added a test to validate all the mapping process is happening. Also, we have a separate migration guide if you want to go and look into that. And yeah, that's from my end. Thank you.
Thanks, Archana. Another great demo. Do we have any questions for Archana? No, we don't. So let's go to the next topic. And Quinn, please go ahead.
All right, thank you, Nana. So this one's a bit of a two-parter. Not anywhere as complicated as foreman-ctl migration, but we've added for the user-facing changes, we have added a foreman-ctl health subcommand. And then there's also been some modifications to the checks command that existed prior to this week. Health is just a replacement for the old foreman maintain health command. It doesn't do as much, and that's on purpose. Right now, there's only one skip that you can pass in, which is you can skip checking the foreman tasks for error tasks. Other than that, everything always runs. And it's just a playbook, just like the checks subcommand. It checks the health of a running foreman system. You know, host name. There's several checks in this. All the services are active. Foreman tasks. Make sure there's no errored out foreman tasks. Checks host facts count. Make sure it's below a threshold. Stuff like that. This is just a quick and easy command that any user can run at any time. Like every playbook, it's idempotent, so it doesn't change anything on the system. It's just a general check, just like the checks command. This one also doesn't modify anything on the system. Checks is run before you spin up your foreman system, and then health can be run at any time. Health is run after you spin it up, and it can be run anytime. So that's all the user-facing changes. For developers, there's actually been a slight overhaul here where we have created several of these check roles. Some of these already existed, but now they're all named similarly, and they're all run the same way. These can be dropped into pretty much any playbook that you want to write. They don't modify anything on the foreman server, and all they do is if a condition's met, they pass. Otherwise, they fail and fail the playbook. So yeah, these are the ones we have so far, with plans to expand this list. I don't really want to go over all of these, but they're kind of cool. Yeah, and then we have a system for skipping the checks too. If you'd like to be able to skip a check in any playbook that you're writing, we're asking that it follows this format, where it's the same thing we saw earlier, the skip and then the name of your check, starting with check. So for example, if you pass this flag, it skips foreman tasks. That's the only one we have so far. But yeah, we're asking if you write any skips, they just follow that format. Yeah, or checks. Both of those. That's all I have. Yeah, any questions? Cool. Thank you all.
And thank you too, Quinn. So if there are really no questions, and I don't see any, then let's go to the next topic. So Pavan, please go ahead.
Yes. Let me share my screen. Hello everyone, I'm Pavan and today I'll be doing a demo on migrating the Red Hat repositories page from Patternfly 3 to Patternfly 5. This is a part of our ongoing effort to modernize Catello's UI and eliminate technical debt. Let me first show you the key code changes in the pull request. The pull request is already merged, and then we'll see it working live in the UI. So coming to the main component in the file changes, the Red Hat repositories page. So here we have updated the import, like we have completely removed Bootstrap dependency in favor of PF5's native grid system. And this follows modern React practices, and the same thing is used below over here, the updated grid system and other parts of PFI component. And with respect to all the files changed, we have even updated components from class-based components to functional components, following the modern React best practices. And one of the changes is we have updated using data list items, like we have moved from list view to data list migration. And the same thing can be observed in other files wherein we have made a similar changes using modern like PFI library in order to import the respective components and using those in order to completely migrate it from PF3 to PF5. And coming to the UI, here is the modernized page with the PF5 styling. So we have a cleaner design consistent with other updated Catello pages. We have still preserved the functional parity with the original, we have the same drop downs wherein we can filter out with available, enabled, and search through the repositories by searching for the repository name, and also the filter by product. We have added the search functionality so that we can search for a particular product, filter out those, and then select a particular one. And all the functional aspects of it works exactly like before. Just design and the way it is used has been updated, and same applies for the RPM dropdown as well. And one of the key changes here is the repositories will be displayed only when the user expands the particular repository, and once it is collapsed, it unmounts from the viewport. And all the other functionalities like enabling a repository and disabling a repository remains same. So yeah, this is just an effort to migrate the Red Hat repositories page from PF3 to PF5 and thereby preserving the functional parity of it. So yeah, that's all I have for the demo. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pavan. Are there any questions for Pavan? Okay, well, let's go to the next demo, and that's one by Shim. So, Shim, please go ahead.
One second, I'm sharing my screen. So, I want to introduce a kind of a pilot that I have decided to do in kind of a last minute. So sorry if it is not that coherent. Again, it's a pilot, so if you think it's useful or really boring, let me know, and we will adjust it accordingly. But the team that I'm part of did quite a lot of work on the upstream foreman, and I wanted to update with quite a lot of things that were done by the team. It's not everything that is done, but I think I have captured at least some of the work, so I wanted to update about it. So having said that, let's start. Yeah, so we already talked today about dropping the Hammer CLI admin plugin. And besides that, the team was working quite a lot on form and control, so I will dive a bit more into the details. What happened in that area? So the team did quite a lot of work on the certificate side of the form and control. So it's part of the bigger containerization effort, and form control is just the tool that will deploy everything on the machine. So this is the part. So the team worked quite a lot on the certificates part of that deployment process. We added support for CNAMEs. We added support for custom and generated certificates. So it will be possible to deploy foreman with either custom certificates or certificates that will be generated on the fly on the installation, during the installation. Expiration period it would be customizable. There is that. And internally, the form control tool will use the community crypto module instead of using direct OpenSSL commands. It gives us quite a lot of benefits, so we decided to move to that one. We already have mentioned also the organization and location support. So there is that. We are adding the BMC support for Smart Proxy. And so the installation process will be able to install a BMC compatible Smart Proxy. We added an option for custom admin username and password. And for the internal services username and passwords, we are now randomizing instead of using a constant string. So there is that. I suppose it adds more security. We have added the migration subcommand, as was already mentioned, and that is credit not for our team, but we as a team have noticed it, and we also want to mention it. The health check command was also added to form control. So thanks a lot for all those contributions. And now for the in-progress part. So these are the things that we are currently working on. We can't promise when and how they will land, and so keep it with a grain of salt. But we do think about those things, and eventually we would like them. We would like form control to have them. So we are working on adding molecule unit test style tests to form control. We are working on TFTP smart proxy support, EIDHCP server provider, and there is already a pull request. I think it was already closed, but I'm not sure about .image systemd units that will enable quite a lot of customization as for the source for the images, for container images that will be used during form control containers installation. So Again, it's not my own contributions. I want to give kudos to everyone who was working on this. It's quite a lot of people. It's quite a lot of effort. So thanks to everyone that actually did that. That's pretty much what I had. So questions, comments, let me know. And also let me know how useful it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Shim, for the containerization overview. Does anyone have any comments? I don't see any in the chats. So no questions, no comments today. Okay. So let's wrap it up for today, I guess. And next demo will take place on July the 2nd. Hopefully see you all and other people there. And for now, that's it. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you.